The headlines out of Mexico over the last few days have been intense. If you've been on social media, you've likely seen videos of blockades and heard rumors of widespread chaos. Today, we're cutting through the noise. We want to share the actual facts of what happened on February 22nd, why we feel safe on the water, and the 8 steps you can take to stay informed and secure while cruising internationally. Hi everyone, we are Pat, Alexa, and Gilligan, the ginormous boat cat. We've lived aboard for almost 9 years now and are currently cruising our 57-foot Nordhavn Noeta around the Sea of Cortez in Mexico. Today, we're taking on a serious topic, safety at sea. Would you feel safe cruising in Mexico right now with the current unrest? All right, guys, thanks for joining us today. I'm Alexa.
I'm Pat.
We are on Noeta. We have been cruising Mexico for over 7 years. We're permanent residents.
Full-time down here, last 7 years. So I guess we feel uniquely qualified to talk about what's coming up.
The events in Mexico. And we have spent the last 7 years cruising around Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So we have hundreds and hundreds of friends and acquaintances and business owners that...
Cruisers, expats, locals.
Yeah, that we know very well and that we care about. And we've gotten a lot of firsthand accounts. Currently, we're on the Baja in Laredo, or near Laredo, Mexico, in Marina Puerto Escondido. It's been very, very quiet here with the Mexican incidents of Sunday. It's been just a couple days, but so Pat, why don't you get us caught up on what are the facts of what is actually
what happened early morning, Sunday the 22nd of February. Mexican security forces launched a raid to capture, but ultimately killed El Mencho. And then what happened after that, as we all saw on the news, was actually they classified as narco-blockades, where they set vehicles on fire, try to create roadblocks, slow down the police and the military from capturing any more cartel activity. All the initial killings that occurred were in that early morning exchange, and I think there was 24 Army military guardsmen that were killed, and it just came out today there was 1 civilian that was killed in the crossfire. They do not and did not target civilians in any of this. So
yeah, and it was in 3 main states, so Michoacan, Jalisco, and Colima states is kind of where the narco-blockades were happening.
Nayarit.
Well, and Nayarit, which is where Puerto Vallarta, or next to Puerto Vallarta. Yeah. And so that is the facts as we know them. While the events are serious, it is important to differentiate between targeted criminal activity and activity that would have been a general threat to individuals like ourselves or other boaters and cruisers. Much of the kind of, quote, chaos was definitely between military and cartel. But unfortunately, we started getting pings and messages from people because the news went crazy with all sorts of AI-generated stories, really sensationalized news stories.
Extremely sensationalized.
Airplanes on fire. Didn't happen.
There was reports of some shootings in this little town called Bucerias.
Yeah. Somebody came on social media and said they're going to start shooting all tourists at noon. None of that happened. It wasn't none of it was substantiated threats. The news, like it does, it grabbed onto the one thing, which was a serious event. And I do not want to minimize what did happen and the loss of lives that do happen. But it wasn't what the news stories
especially on
made it
social
out
media,
to be.
the AI, the bots all start clinging to that information and they start going for the clickbait.
But for those of us on the water, that means not necessarily, we don't want to be afraid in these places we travel all over the world, but we do want to be aware and informed. And so that was really...
you'd be aware anytime you're traveling. If you're going to Europe, Africa, South America, wherever, even in the United States, you should always be aware of your surroundings, what's going on.
Yeah, and in the stuff that the narco-blockades that did happen, and how narco-blockades work is they do steal cars and they set them on fire. But in all of them that happened yesterday, everyone that was in the cars...
They got the driver out.
Driver and passengers were out and let go.
Yeah.
And yes, they did
and they
burn
destroyed
their car.
the car or the truck or whatever.
And caused disruptions. But what it means also, as we want to travel the world, and we hope you guys in watching all this want to enjoy watching those travels or do it yourself. You can't reduce one country to one thing that you see on the news. And we got a lot of messages over the last 2 days about get out of there. Mexico's the trouble.
Mexico's on fire.
We're not leaving.
We're not leaving.
Mexico is not just cartels. There's so much more to this country. And just like you can't reduce the U.S. to mass shootings and say that's what the whole country is about, the whole country has amazing people and amazing things. And we're more than just our news stories. So it's really important, those of you watching on the outside, that the amazing things that the locals did during and after, and they helped
numerous
visitors.
Reports of them getting people, tourists, expats,
so they felt safe, getting them food,
and helping them shelter. They took them into their restaurants, into their homes.
Yeah, and the amazing part about that is those people were also worried about their friends and families, yet they stayed and took care of those of us visiting and showed concern for those visiting. And so the country is much more than cartel violence, and every country you would find that. I think if some major, what we see in the news, we don't see the shiny happy things and the beautiful cultural things in the news, and
that
so
doesn't generate revenue.
We really want to stress to folks that follow us and that enjoy watching this lifestyle, every country we go to, we just need to be aware and informed. In order to enjoy anywhere else, I think you just need to open your mind a little bit to what else is going on in that country. All right, so in addition to staying informed, we also have a safety plan. And I think anyone who wants to cruise internationally, cruise the world, it's important to be prepared. And so we're going to share with you just kind of 8 steps that we have for international safety. It's not the end all be all. And at the end, if you guys want to share more common sense steps with us, you absolutely can. But we're going to share with you 8 things that we would follow, or we do follow, in order to travel and feel safe internationally. So here's the first one. If possible for your country, enroll in government alerts. So many countries, and in the United States, they have what's called the STEP program. You go online to the government website and you enroll and register when you enter that country, so they know they're there, that you're there. Then you will get factual updates when they're, like Sunday we had a code red from the United States. It was a shelter in place code. We got them during COVID. We would get them if there's any other civil unrest. And it's immediate factual things that are happening from the government. So if for your country that you come from, look in to see if you have something like that, like the STEP program for the U.S., but do enroll in at least official government alerts and let them know that you are in that country.
So the second thing to do is build a local intel network. It could be the port captain, local cruisers, local expats that have been there a long time. People that are going to be trusted and know kind of a little more of what's going on in the area. It could be as simple as knowing where the good grocery store is.
Number 3, leverage your local maritime and cruiser nets. So that could be a VHF radio net. It might be a WhatsApp group. In our scenario, it was definitely the WhatsApp group that we are part of in Puerto Vallarta. It's where we got all of our firsthand accounts from people who were there. But those are in many places, and we know in Mexico, there are morning nets that give the weather and updates, and it's a great spot to find local alerts and what's going on and what other people are experiencing. It's kind of a crowdsourced safety type of thing, but not with Google or just the Facebook world, but people on the water in that local community.
The fourth thing is to master your AIS strategy. You may not want to have your AIS on. Yeah, the AIS is an automatic identification system on the boats. It's, in a sense, it's a transponder that's announcing your boat. Its name, its location, speed, direction. You might be in a situation where you don't want that on, so you might want to disable that, turn it completely off, or if you can go to a non-transmit mode where you're just receiving information, that's perhaps a good thing to do. We didn't do that because there was zero threat here.
Yeah, and we're halfway through the list. Many of these things we would do all the time, and many of these things we would only do if there's a situation where we feel uncomfortable or there's a situation of unrest, which is kind of like the next one. Number 5, it was to choose like a secure marina over a remote anchorage in times of unrest. Now, right now, we feel safe and we're fine.
Yeah,
we're going to anchor out tomorrow, probably.
We had people contact us and tell us to immediately go out and anchor, and that's really the last thing you want to do is be alone and isolated. That actually puts you at greater risk because there's safety in numbers.
Yeah. And if you are at a marina with 24-hour security, both physically and even psychologically, if there is something going on in the country you're in, you would feel just safer at a secure marina. So that would just have a plan for where that might be if you haven't been hanging out at secure marinas where you could get to.
Maintain a low profile with your vessel. Get rid of the flashy things. Make your boat, I don't know, they call it gray man. So you turn off like really bright lights, maybe have, in lieu of that, have like motion sensing lights. Maybe we've seen boats with motion sensing sirens. So as people approach the boat, it will alarm. Get rid of flashy things, that big, beautiful tender, put a tarp over it. If you have, personal watercraft, and just make the boat less high profile. The kind of hardly used working cruising boat is going to be a lower profile target than the big flashy mega yacht.
With all the dive tanks and the fishing rods sitting on the deck, so make it less appealing.
The other thing to do, we have Starlink, and I think most cruising boats have some sort of satellite communication ability now. So you want to develop a float plan or a check-in program with maybe friends or family back home or somewhere else, and have a check-in time. You want to inform them that it's, I'm not going to, if I miss it at noon, our scheduled check-in time, give me a few minutes. Maybe the satellite, sometimes if it's really rolly, our Starlink cuts out for a little bit and it has to re-engage the satellite. So, if you haven't heard from the people by, set a time, then, go to the vessel traffic, go to their vessel tracker and see, where are they? Are they still moving? Okay. So maybe the satellite system's down or something weird is going like that.
Yeah. And again, that would be in times of unrest. We don't have daily check-ins with people where we are and how we are. I will say thank you for everyone who did check in with us over the last couple of days and your concern for us. We've definitely felt it. We felt like people knew where we were. But we really appreciate those of you that were shared concern for us and were checking in on us. So we appreciate you. So again, that's something else. Daily check-ins would be in a time of unrest. So this is not something you would do daily. Okay, number 8, and this was kind of the one that caused most of the sensational stuff the last couple of days, is we practice aggressive media literacy. I taught this in middle school to kids. We taught aggressive media literacy. When you see something in the news, confirm it and verify it with 3 independent, trustworthy sites, not just grandma and somebody else's brother said so. When we first started getting the alerts in the morning, we knew something was happening, and then the social media started going. It's like everything we read was with a grain of salt, and then as the whole story kind of started coming together, it wasn't as sensational as we first were led to believe. But aggressive media literacy anywhere you are in the world will be really critical, whether it's a government site or whether it's somebody on the ground. That aggressive media literacy is so much better than one video on TikTok that might or might not have been fake or might not have been in the last 10 years. So just trust your instinct when you say this is too crazy to be real. It might not be. The last couple days, we've just been having to clear up news for people like Costco did not burn down, folks. It's okay. It is.
They were not shooting people at noon. They weren't.
It's so anytime there's a breaking story anymore, just with the way technology is, verify it with at least 3 independent sources before then sharing that with somebody else or before publishing that news to somebody else.
Don't have the knee-jerk reaction immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just take it slowly. Don't panic. Assess the situation. Assess the information.
So the big takeaway here: be aware and informed and prepared. And those 3 things are going to keep you safe on the water and keep you enjoying your time. Will things happen in countries that you visit? Yes. They'll be at your home country also, probably. So this is just the best way you can continue to explore the world by water, wherever you are.
Yeah.
So a common question we get, and even some instances of this came up in the last couple of days, is do you have a gun for safety? And the short answer is no. And here's why: cruising with a firearm actually leads to more trouble than it's worth. We're just kind of going to give the steps of why it's so complicated to cruise internationally with a gun.
It's illegal. In Mexico, it is illegal for us to have a firearm or even the ammunition, like military-grade ammunition. Could be 9mm rounds, anything that they classify as a military round. You can be arrested. Your boat can be confiscated, and you can go to prison and or fines.
And for lengthy prison terms.
Lengthy prison terms.
Yeah. The other reason it can be complicated in countries, in many countries, when you declare it, which you would have to, they will seize your guns and your ammunition, and they will store it for you, some, with the intention of you can have it back when you leave. The problem is
when you
with
come
this,
back to get it, you have to leave at that moment. They will, I've heard of them actually escorting you to your boat and untying your boat for you, and you have to go.
And sometimes you have to pay great amounts of
Yes.
money to have that stored and bonded. And also leaving a country, not very often do you leave the country from the same spot you entered. In Mexico, you could enter in Ensenada and leave in Chiapas, and you'd have to go back to Ensenada to get that firearm. So the complication that brings with boating
And you can't fly with it. So it's just not practical.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the escalation risk.
Yeah.
Something that starts out as a petty theft where somebody boards your boat to take your fishing rods could get escalated into something that's now life-threatening that wasn't headed that way.
Let them have the fishing rod.
Yeah,
Take
it's just,
It's not worth it.
Is it worth it to take somebody's life? So cruisers rarely aren't equipped for that kind of thing. And so the escalation risk is really...
And I think this comes up a lot with piracy. You have a gun, what are you going to do? The idea, our mentality, and everybody we know that cruises is to not go in those regions. There are known spots where piracy happens, and I think piracy kind of gets painted under a very broad brush. Piracy could be defined as somebody coming on and taking your fishing rods.
Yeah.
It could be as much as them trying to take your boat too, obviously, but
we follow firsthand accounts
Yes.
from certain groups that publish firsthand accounts, so we know where it's happening, and we get the alerts not to go there.
The idea is to not go to those locations, and there are spots in the world where that's happening, and just don't go there. If you do, you're really doing it at your own peril.
Exactly. And the idea is to avoid trouble.
Yeah.
So stay out of those regions. Equip your boat with motion activated lights or security cameras. Make your boat less desirable to have somebody board it. And so if you can just avoid the interaction altogether, that saves you from having to feel like you need to fight or protect.
We're going to kind of wrap this up a little bit. Safety starts with small steps first. You know, you want to tip that balance in your favor, and that starts with little things. You know, awareness. You know, don't panic. Get reliable information. Have a plan. Talk to each other. What are we going to do? Is that valid?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say we watched a video not long ago by the Cruising Kiwis.
Oh yeah, excellent movie. Excellent.
And so I'd like to give them a shout out. They did a great episode where, and I'll link it here, where they're in Brazil and they've had all sorts of encounters with locals and it's been wonderful. But they did have an incident where it appeared that a boat was coming after them, and they went live at the time. But then they talked through their plan of what they were planning on doing and why it never got to that point, thank goodness, and I'm really happy.
But they did a series, lots of small steps.
Steps.
They were communicating with each other very effectively and clearly, and
no panic.
Developing a plan and then assessing the plan. Is the plan working? It's not okay. What do we need to do now? This is a lot of my airline training.
Yeah.
Is just, here's the plan, assess it, it's not working, let's re-rig, okay.
And then debrief it again.
Well, we're still out here. Our plan is not to leave Mexico anytime soon. Well, 2.5 years or so. And then we're definitely cruising. We go out and we have eyes wide open. We're always aware of our situation, where we're at, what's going on. And that applies to anywhere. I do this on my layovers, on any city that I'm in.
And we don't want to be afraid and we don't want to be paranoid, but we do want to be ready, aware, and prepared. And so that's what we can keep stressing. So I am going to share these 8 steps in a checklist kind of form in the description of the video. So feel free to take it, adjust it to your needs, add more to it. And we honestly are interested in what else and common sense ways can we be more prepared because things will happen, unfortunately, no matter where we are. And it's not going to stop us from doing what we're doing, but it can help us make good choices. So anyway, guys, super appreciate you guys coming along for the ride and listening in on this. Thank you for your concern over the last couple of days, and keep on traveling, right?
Yeah, it's yeah, get out there.
Get out there and just do it. Like, hype, subscribe, do all the things, and take care of yourselves, guys. Bye.
Thanks.